Hello everybody, it's Ivy again. We're going to talk about some elves today. These are angsty elves because they use both black and green mana, so swamps and forests. As you can see, there's a lot of elves. All of those cards are going to be elves. We're going to go over those. Got some fun stuff over there, some different creatures, planeswalkers, some spells, all kinds of interesting non-basic lands here. And these are all the elves that decided to come and hang out with us today and enjoy our experience here going through this deck tech. I really puts a lot of thought into this deck. There's probably a few more cards I can add, and I'm probably going to maybe modify a couple things, but hopefully this will at least give you a good foundation to build from. There's a lot of really cool things in here. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right on to the commander and check it out and see what I'm doing. So here's our angsty elf. We got Meren of Clan Naltoth. Legendary creature, human shaman. Whenever another creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. At the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. If that card's converted mana cost is less than or equal to the number of experience counters you have, return it to the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Now, you'll notice it's not an elf, but the reason I picked this card is because, you know, people are going to want to maybe pick off your elves, but obviously if you have experience counters, the elves are coming back. So you can definitely put them back on the battlefield, and there's a lot of interesting ETB effects and stuff you can do with them when they come back in and they can go back out. It's actually kind of interesting what can happen here. Now, I may change out the commander for a different one, you know, but we'll just say for now this might be a good thing for you guys to try out. If I play through maybe another 20 games with this deck and I think a better commander works, I will definitely make another video like this, synergize with a different commander. But let's go ahead and get right into it, and we will talk about what's in this deck. Let's check out the other 99. Alrighty. We're first going to go ahead and hit some non-elf creatures. Not many in here, but I wanted you to take a look at them. And we've got good old Tarmy. Yeah, at a commander game, I mean, this could get useful really quick. It's only 2 mana, and there's going to be a lot of crap in people's graveyards. So, you know what? Why not? Let's put them in there, you know, very useful. Again, it goes with the whole sort of angsty elf kind of thing, you know, getting stuff from the graveyard, that kind of thing. Let's go ahead and see what we got here. Impervious Grapeworm. Now, the reason I put this in here is because this deck's going to make a lot of elves. As you see as I go through this. And the Great Worm is indestructible. And you can actually tap your own elves to get him out. So if you have a lot of elves in play, and of course the deck is going to create a lot of mana, so regardless, one way or another, he's definitely going to get out. And he's a 16/16 indestructible. Yeah, you're going to, when people see this, they're going to be like, oh crap, what now, what do we do? You know, they're going to have to get him off the field somehow. Next card, of course, is Seedworm Muse. You would think she would be an elf, but apparently she's a spirit. Obviously, I think there's a lot of commander decks running this card, regardless of, you know, tribal or whatever. But you can see, of course, that it untaps all permanents you control during each other player's untapped step. Really super useful, especially if you're going to cast some instants. Next one's going to be Sky Shroud Poacher. A creature's a rebel. I don't know if this was errated recently to be an elf or something, but for right now I'm just going with it. It's a rebel. But look what he does. It looks like if you pay 3, you can search your library for an elf card and put that card into play, then shuffle your library. So basically for 3 generic mana, you get to tutor for an elf. I think that's amazing. So useful. Next card, I thought he was kind of neat. It's from, obviously, Ikoria, one of the newer sets. He's got Death Touch, the beginning of your upkeep. If your opponents control no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls with the bounty counter on it dies, you gain 3 life and you can draw a card. Interesting little way to get card draw, and he only costs 2 mana. I thought this guy was really useful. And of course, you know, this card, way to go for Wizards to really amp up your mana production. You can play an additional land on each of your turns. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. Amazing. I mean, if you have a deck that runs green, I don't understand why you wouldn't have this card in your deck. Especially if you're running landfall. Landfall? You kidding me? This is amazing. Alright, now we're going to get into all the elves. As you can see, it's an army of elves, which make more elves, so you want to check this stuff out. First one we got is a classic. Now this card used to be a common, but you would think if they ever do reprint it, probably not going to be a common anymore. Actually, I think they did reprint this in like the, what was that? The mystery boosters, I think, might have had this in there. So make sure to pick up those. I think the boxes are like $200. Better get one now while they're still available. But Priest of Titania, let's talk about it. You obviously add a mana to your mana pool for each elf in play. Play this ability as a mana source. Almost kind of like a Gaia's Cradle, but just, tribal to elves. So amazing card for like a common. Next one we got is Abomination of Llanowar, legendary creature, elf horror, vigilance and menace. Abomination of Llanowar's power and toughness are equal to the number of elves you control plus the number of elf cards in your graveyard. So if they die, well, this guy is definitely, going to be more powerful. So next one we got is Azuri, renegade leader. It's an elf warrior. For one, you can pay to regenerate another target elf. So obviously you can see a lot of graveyard recursion here. So if they go to the graveyard, you can go back and go get them. You can see how there's a lot of cards synergizing with some of the graveyard action. You can pay, obviously, 3 green and 2 generic. You can get elf creatures control, gives +3/+3, and gain trample till end of turn. Very useful if you're going in for a kill shot. You got a lot of elves in play, and you would just want to take someone's life total down very quickly. This is the way to do it. Next card we got is, if the camera will cooperate, we got Gnarlroot Trapper. Pay 1 life, add a green mana to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast an elf creature spell. Well, there's many of those, so I don't see that being a problem. Target attacking elf you control gains death touch until end of turn. You just tap this guy and go in with an elf, and if somebody blocks them, well, their creature is dead. Death touch. Next, we got Dwillin Giltleaf Dayan. I'm assuming I'm saying that right. He's got reach, great for things that are going to fly, because a lot of these elves are on the ground. You're probably going to want to have something that blocks flying, just saying. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. When he dies, or excuse me, when he attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. So if you smash in with 15 elves, well, there you go. You just gain 15 life. Amazing. Here's a card that, I've had it in my collection since I was a little kid. I pulled this out of a pack. I didn't pay $150 for it because it's on the reserve list. That's a whole different conversation. Maybe we'll have a Rudy conversation about the reserve list and people and evil investors and 3.69% women hoarding cards from the reserve list. But nonetheless, if you can get a hold of one of these, or have one, or a friend that has one that doesn't need it in his deck, or her deck maybe, all elves gain Forest Walk. And elves cannot be target of spells or abilities. So basically it gives all your elves what used to be called Shroud, which is pretty awesome. And he's only two green mana to cast. Gives him Forest Walk. Anybody has a forest in play. That's it. You're unblockable. That's incredible. Alright, next card we got is Beast Whisperer. Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card. It's Commander. You're going to want to have card draw. That's how you do it. Obviously, there's no blue in here, so you're not going to have, Ristic Studies or anything. So a card like this, pretty awesome sauce. Next one we got is Timberwatch Elf. Target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves on the battlefield. Kind of see a theme there. More elves, more stuff to do, bigger creatures. Poison Tip Archer. He's got reach. Again, you want to be able to block some stuff that's flying sooner or later, because you don't want that stuff to get through. He's got Death Touch, so if he reaches up, he's going to kill the flyer. Could be an angel, could be an Avacyn or something. Although she is indestructible. But, maybe one of those angels that isn't indestructible. We can maybe kill it with this little elf here. And remember, you can go get them. Some of these cards allow you to go get them back. So if you go get them back, well, there you go. Even though you might have died killing a bigger creature, well, you can go get them back. So, useful. Whenever another creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So, whenever another creature dies, each opponent, do you see that? That means your opponents that are killing their own other stuff, you get they each lose a life for their stuff dying. So, pretty awesome. This is actually, believe it or not, one of those flip cards from Magic Origins. She flips over and turns into a Planeswalker. I won't take the card out. I think if you look it up on any of the databases that have this card, you can see the other side, the Planeswalker. When Nissa Vastwood Seer enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest card. Got some ramp attached to it. Reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, if you control 7 or more lands, exile Nissa, and then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. So you get to turn her into the Planeswalker. It's a neat little card. Good theme. Fits the theme and the tribal. Jorga Warcaller. Good luck trying to get one. I would get this card while you can. This is perfect synergy for elf builds like this. You want to put this card in your deck because you're going to get a lot of mana. You're going to be able to do the +1/+ counters for each time it was kicked. Other elf creatures get +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Jorga Warcaller. So you can get other elves to put other +1/+1 counters on this guy to give your other elves +1/+1 counters. See where I'm going with this? Kind of see some like trigger synergy going off, stuff hopping off on other elves and stuff. So yeah, think about that. But you gotta get this card right now from TCG Player or something because it's gonna go up to like $30-40 if you don't buy it now. So I would suggest. Next one's gonna be Gerard Golgari Lichlord. 2 black, 2 green. We got Gerard Golgari Lichlord. Gets +1/+1 for each creature card in the graveyard. If you can pay mana, you can sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. Sacrifice a swamp and a forest. Return Gerard from the graveyard to your hand. So he really just keeps coming back. And you can use it to really, start messing up people's life totals. This card's really good. When Elvish Harbinger comes into play, you may search your library for an elf card. So it's Elf Tutor for 3, plus you get your elf in. And then you can shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, which, it's pretty useful, but definitely gives you some elf tutor. You can go get the elf you want and put them out next turn. Now, the Gilt Leaf, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may have target opponent discard a card at random. This could really mess up someone's combo. Like if they tutored for their combo and you get them to do this, well, they might have to punt out one of their combo pieces. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. You can see how that could go off really easy. Of course, we got Bramblewood Paragon. Each other warrior creature you control comes into play with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Oh, right. Wasn't there a card called Jorga Warcaller? Oh, yeah. Doesn't he make +1/+1 counters and stuff like that? Oh, yeah. Each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has trample. So you saw the synergy there where you could buff them and make them bigger, give them trample, and just keep on going with that. I mean, there's like a massive amount of triggers that can happen with that. Now, it's creature elf, drove of elves, power and toughness are each equal to the number of green permanents you control. Drove of elves can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. So he's got hexproof. Or she. Either way, bunch of elves. This one, Jorga Tree Speaker, definitely want to put this in your deck. Again, I would get this off a TCG Player. It's an old card, so there's not many of them out there. I don't think this has ever been reprinted, or it might have been once or something. So you might want to go pick this up while you can. Obviously, you can level him up for 1 green and 1 generic, and basically have the first ability to tap 2 mana, gives you quick mana ramp. And if you want to pay the level up to get them up to the last ability, it's almost like a miniature planeswalker. That's what I call it. All your elves will tap for double mana. Double mana. Get this card. All right, next card. We got whenever one or more other elves enters the battlefield under control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. You can pay a crap ton of mana, and elves you control get +2/+2 and gain death touch until end of turn. That could be brutal. I mean, if you can get up to 7 and attach with this guy, yeah, there you go. That could be a game winner. Add mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If Incubation Druid has a +1/+1 counter on it, add 3 mana of that type instead. Obviously, you can use its adaptability and, of course, get the extra mana. So it's just a mana production facility. Imperious Perfect, a great old card. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. You can pay green and tap and put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. And you saw the synergy with some of those other cards that make elf warriors. I remember a deck that would go infinite with this card and a couple of other ones back from like a long time ago. I think I made that deck, I think it was like during the, I want to say like around the Alara, Shards of Alara, and then, what was it, Zendikar. I think around there I made a deck like that went infinite with elves. Now, whenever another elf enters the battlefield under control, put a +1/+1 counter on Marwyn the Nurturer, and then, of course, you can add an amount of mana, green mana equal, of course, to Marwyn's power. So you keep doing that. You see where I'm going with this? Huge mana production factories going on here. You see where this goes in relationship to the previous cards? Yeah. Okay, hopefully you can see where this is going. Well, 2 mana, you gain 1 life for each elf on the battlefield. Just tap it and just a giant life gain engine. It's common. Seriously? Common? Amazing for elf tribal. This came out in Modern Horizons. Great card. 3 changes. Just ran for 3. That's great. You can't not have that. Another ramp. You know, just tap for green. Just like we used to call them mana dorks. You know, like elf mana dorks and stuff. Put 3 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens into play. I don't know if this classified as like if you go get it says elf on it. So like if a computer or excuse me, if a spell says you can go get or an ability says you can go get an elf, can I go get this? Maybe you can answer that in the comments, guys. Can you go tutor for this if it says elf on it? Just curious. I was thinking about that the whole time when I looked at that card. Other elf creatures you control get +1/+1. You can add mana to your mana pool for each elf you control. So good. So much value. So much mana. Of course, we know what that is. It's a mana dork. We got Lissalana Huntmaster. Whenever you play an elf spell, you may put a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token into play. Again, another token manufacturer. And, of course, you can see whenever another creature comes into play, you gain a life. So not only does this deck have production of creatures and mana, you're getting life. I mean, this is just an amazing deck. Menace. When Harald, King of Skemfar, enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an elf, warrior, or Tyvar card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think Tyvar is the Planeswalker in this deck, so you'll see in a second. Another elf, Reese the Exile. When Reese the Exile attacks, you gain 1 life for each elf you control. Sacrifice an elf, regenerate Reese the Exile. Cool. And of course, this card, you can get a hold of it. From what I hear, this thing's starting to sell out all over the internet, but good luck. Try to get one. All elves get +1/+1 and have Forest Walk. It's really like Aladmary, Lord of Lees. Not quite as good, but it's still a great card. And it's not on the reserve list. I think this one's like $20 instead of the Aladmary being like, I don't know, what is it now? 100, 200, who knows? The reserve list is going crazy these days. Alright, so Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash. Until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains Vigilance and Reach. Again, you want to be able to do some reach somewhere, because you're going to have flyers in sooner or later. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down and put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card, you may cast it if it's a creature card. So you're probably going to be looking for an elf, you know, common sense. Golgari, or Vraska. You may sacrifice another permanent. If you do, you gain 1 life and draw a card, so you got some card draw. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. So good to targeted removal some stuff. You get an emblem. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. That's right, the game. You just lost it. The game. You lost it. Yeah, I know it's an old meme, but hey, what the hell. Alright, now we got Nissa's Nature's Artisan. +3, you gain 3 life, whatever. Reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all land cards from among them into the battlefield, and the rest into your hand. Not bad. Creatures you control get +5/+5 and gain trample until end of turn. Probably not going to get up to the -12, but you never know. That could happen. Nissa Ravan. Search your library for a card named Nisha's Chosen and put it in the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. You'll notice that card's not in here. I was like, who cares? But it did say for +1, you gain 2 life for each elf you control. How many elves do you think are probably going to be out with all the elf production and duplication and stuff? Yeah, that could be a lot of life game. Search your library for any number of elf creature cards and put them into the battlefield. I'm going to say it again, -7. Get her up that high. Search your library for any number of elf creature cards and put them into the battlefield. Then shuffle your library. Yeah, it might happen. I mean, if you can keep the blocking and keep people from getting rid of that and removing that, wow. For Elise, Llanowar Fury. Put a 1/1 green elf druid creature token into the battlefield, which allows you to tap for mana and add to your mana pool. Destroy target artifact enchantment. This is really good for this card because you'll notice there's not a lot of targeted removal in this deck. So without the targeted removal, you want to do stuff like that. So you can get rid of maybe, I don't know, a Soul Ring or a really annoying enchantment that's messing up your day, or, a lot of ways this could be helpful. Draw a card for each green creature you control. That's amazing. I could have made it a commander, but nah, I wanted to go the 2-color route. Here's a very new card from Kaldheim. I don't think anyone's figured out that some of those Kaldheim cards are really busted. They're really good. You can put a +1/+1 counter on 1 target elf, untap it. It gains Death Dodge until end of turn. Good stuff. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. You can kind of see where that's going considering all the other cards. You get an emblem with, whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and you draw 2 cards. 2. That's right, 2 cards in Commander. That's amazing. Next one we got is an instant. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Very useful if you want to get in some damage and not have to worry about losing anybody. It's an instant. Draw cards equal the greatest power among non-human creatures you control. Non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Pretty amazing stuff. It's a nice card draw in there. Shared summon. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with different names. You're probably going to get some elves. Reveal them and put them in your hand. Then shuffle your library. Good tutor card. Next we got Assassin's Trophy. I'm sure you've seen this. I'm going to replace it with the, the one that's coming out that's like, I think it's an Assassin's Trophy that has like a metal theme to it or something. Secret Lair. I'm going to replace this card with that one here soon. Destroy target permanent and opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card and put it in the battlefield, then shuffle their library. Pretty cool. Kind of like, what is it, Path of Exile, I think, does that, if I remember correctly. What Path? I think it's Path. Maelstrom Pulse. Destroy target non-land permanent and all other permanents with the same name as that permanent. In Commander, you don't see that very often, but non-land permanent, if they have a token build deck, you blow up one of their tokens, well, it destroys all the other permanents with the same name. Because all the other tokens, are the tokens a permanent? I think they are. They're on the battlefield, right? Yeah. So if you destroy their tokens, well, that's it. You destroy one token, you get rid of them all. This thing could be a game winner. I mean, read what it says. You drop stuff into X. You're going to be producing tons of mana with this deck. If you get this card and then you just load every ounce of mana you can into X, what does it do? Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So basically, it's a Cyclonic Rift. You totally fill this thing up with mana, and you've got yourself a Cyclonic Win or Cyclonic Rift on a black card, and you auto win. Totally broken, but yes, if you can get it off, you can probably win the table with this card if nobody counters it. If you can make sure your blue player has all their mana tapped. Thoughtseize, pretty good turn, like a good way to break up someone's combo. Like if you saw them tutor for something, I would just go ahead and use this just to get rid of that combo component. If you see that they tutor and you have that in your hand, go use that. Growing Rights of Ithlamok. I assume I'm saying that right. Itlamok, whatever. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from one of them, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, yeah, you're probably going to have more than 4, like in turn 2 or 3. You can flip it. It turns into basically Gaia's Cradle. If you know, there's like some card, I think from, was it Urza's Saga, that's worth $1,000. Well, that's the cheatsy way to get to get one. You just have to flip that thing. I'm surprised that card isn't like $100. Each player may play spells and abilities only on during his or her turn. You have to have this card in here. You want your spell? You want your elves countered? You want your stuff countered? No, because they can't do that if you have this out. Each player may play spells and abilities only during his or her turn. I mean, it cuts out some of your instance, but there's hardly any instance in here. So you might as well just put this out and then keep people from countering your elves and stuff. Burgeoning. Whenever an opponent plays a land, you may choose a land card from your hand and put it into play. So basically, it's kind of not the same, but similar to like a land tax, but in green. If you don't know about this card, now you do. Parallel Lives. You're making a lot of tokens in this deck, so why not make 2 of those? Double them. Doubling season, but in just green. Commander Killer. Ovulette. You want to make somebody's commander go away and have them not be able to get it back from the command zone? There's your solution. Target creature phases out until it leaves play. So, yeah, unless they get rid of this thing, they're never going to get the commander back because it phases out. It doesn't go to the command zone, doesn't go to the graveyard, doesn't go to the library, doesn't leave any zone. It just phases out. It's such a busted card. I wish they had more of those, like in different cards on them, or different titles. Phyrexian Arena, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may draw a card and lose life. Good way to get some card draw. Asceticism, this makes all of your elves, obviously, hexproof, very useful. And you can even regenerate your elf on this card for 5. It's so good. All right, now we got some rocks and some artifacts and stuff to help you out. So we got Lotus Petal. I'm pretty sure you know what it does. So you get to sack it and get them, mana, whatever color. I call this a coupon artifact. All your green spells cost 1 less to play. Why not, right? This one is great for tribal. Vanquisher's Banner enters the battlefield. Choose a creature type. Elves. Creature you control, you have +1/+1. Whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, you draw a card. Automatic freebie card draw. Gotta love it. Door of Destinies. You have to have this in here. Look what it does. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, put a charge counter on Door of Destinies. So you're going to choose elves. Creatures you control the chosen type, you have +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. Every time an elf comes into play, it gets a charge counter. See where I'm going with this? It's amazing. Now, we're going to get into our non-basics. This should start wrapping up our video. Sorry about the finger. We got Wirewood Lodge. This card, you have to... Look what it does. I think this is the only card in Magic that does this particular thing. You untap target elf and can, make an engine of elves that do things. Slitherborn Pathway. Obviously, we know what that is. I'm not going to talk about a command tower. This one, there's only a couple of different sets of cards that have this out in it. Sorry about that. As Guiltlift Palace comes into play, you may reveal an elf card from your hand. If you don't, whatever, because we played it. But it's a dual land. If you have elves, it comes into play on tap. Obviously, you can see what that does. We're just going to run through these. Of course, they're just dual lands. Of course, Temple of the False God. We got Blooming Marsh. We got Dark War Pathway. So I'll make sure I want 2 of those. Because you're not supposed to... Oh, yeah, this is a different one. Okay. Just making sure. And then, of course, we got Golgari Rot Farm enters the battlefield tapped. You see what it does. Put it back in. Anyway. Double mana on that one. Warped Landscape. It's basically just a tutor card. Overgrown Tomb. Sure you know what it does. Verdant Catacombs. A fetch land. And last, we got Woodland Cemetery. And the 2 little mana rocks, of course, the staples. You're probably going to have a Soul Ring and a Thran Dynamo. Nothing too surprising there. And, of course, Azumi. I'm going to leave with Azumi here. And we'll say hi to Nissa. Or goodbye to Nissa, however you want to say that. Of course, we've got, I think it's Galandriel. Yep, Galandriel. And then, of course, we have Arwen. So, hopefully you enjoyed this deck. Please subscribe to my channel. Just, click that like button. More subscribers is great. I hope you guys really enjoy this deck. There's probably improvements you're going to make when you make it, and I just hope that the cards inside gave you some good ideas to see what can be done. There's a lot of synergy here with elves. There's a lot of ways to just pump out tons of elves, and I'm sure you can find a way to make it go infinite. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want more, just let me know, and I'll be doing some more deck videos, okay? Look forward to seeing from hearing you guys again, and seeing what you guys are doing out there, okay? Bye-bye.